Thank you for tuning in to Kriya Yoga Online. The following recording is from our October 2023 Kriya Yoga Sunday service. These Sunday services are offered to our Kriya Yoga Online Patreon community members and our Kriya Yoga apprenticeship students. If you would like to participate in our monthly online gatherings, please consider becoming a supporting member of our Kriya Yoga Online Patreon community. Patreon members receive monthly lessons, invitations to monthly Q&A sessions, and early announcements for all retreats and classes. It is the support of our Patreon community and our Kriya Yoga apprenticeship and discipleship students that make these recordings and the Kriya Yoga podcast freely available with minimal advertisements. It is our goal at Kriya Yoga Online to share a spiritual path that nourishes and encourages your highest clarity and well-being. Thank you for being with us, and please share this recording with any friends, family, or colleagues you feel would benefit from the message. All right, welcome everyone to our Sunday, October 22nd, 2023 Kriya Yoga Sunday service. Today we're going to talk about how to improve your Kriya Yoga practice. And we're going to focus on Lahiri Mahasaya's commentary on the Bhagavad Gita. But before we do that, I do have a few announcements to make. So those of you who might like to write things down, this would be a great time to get a pen. First of all, I wanted to remind everyone that the Kriya Yoga, a spiritual practice class, the 12-section class, is still happening on Patreon. We're posting one of those a month at the Kriya Yoga Online Patreon community. We still have November and December to go. So they're all already available up through October. And one of the things I noticed Patreon is allowing me to do now is to put things together called collections. So if you're on Patreon, I'm not sure what it looks like for you, but you should be able to find a collections section. And it's almost like a playlist where I'm grouping together all the classes and things. So you've got so it's easier for you to access them. So you can check there. Those of you who are interested in participating in the Kriya Yoga apprenticeship course, the 2-year Kriya Yoga apprenticeship course, we are now accepting applications, and I will be reviewing them, and I will have a final review done by December 15th. Remember that I'm only able to accept 25 students a year. So you want to go ahead and get that application in. And if for any reason you're not accepted, that gets rolled over into next year. So you get the first chance to participate next year. So keep that in mind. And those of you who have completed year 1, if you want to continue into year 2 and you haven't already told us, email us. Let us know that you want to continue with year 2. It's not automatic because, believe it or not, sometimes people get through year 1 and think that they don't need it anymore or they're bored. So I like people to let me know if they want to continue with year 2. December 17th December 17th, we are having a holy season meditation at 1 p.m. Eastern time. It'll be over Zoom, and this will be a 2-hour holy season meditation. So put that on your calendar. If you are an apprenticeship member, if you are a Patreon member, if you're on our newsletter, which you likely are if you're participating here, you will get an announcement about that, but it's good for you to mark it on your calendar so you don't schedule anything else. And one other thing, a few people have asked me about office hours. You know that I release those in January and in July. So come the first week of January, all goes well, I'll be able to send out another link for people to sign up for 25-minute office hours so that we can have some time to speak over Zoom and connect and talk about meditation or whatever you might need related to your Kriya Yoga path. All right, let's go ahead and get started today. So again, today we are talking about how to improve your Kriya Yoga practice. Now, one of the great things that I have appreciated when I've opened up the office hours over these last few years is oftentimes I get people who say to me, well, I really don't have any questions because everything that I would ask you cover in your videos and your podcasts or your books. And that always makes me very happy to hear that, because it's been my goal to make that available for people. But we can spend some time kind of considering and reminding ourselves what really makes our Kriya Yoga practice work. Now, I'm not going to put a lot of emphasis on technique here, because I have found that most techniques are actually fairly simple. You know, you do have access to my videos on YouTube. Also within the book, An Essential Guide to Kriya Yoga Practice, I go step by step through all of the important techniques for Kriya Yoga practice. And when I wrote those out, I gave the text to people who don't even know anything about Kriya Yoga. And I said, if you were going to read this, how would you do it? So that I could observe them and see that they were doing the techniques accurately. So you have access to proper information about techniques. But what we have to remember with our practice is it's not just technique, it's how we approach our practice, how we go into our meditation. So you know your technique, you know you need to spend time daily working towards meditation. But what we want to get into is, what is it like? What are you doing when you are spending that time in meditation? And the first thing that you have to do is do whatever it takes to make sure that that time is just for meditation. Maybe you know people who have a hobby or an interest that they want to cultivate, that they want to develop. And what do they do if they really want to do that well? They tell their family, look, for the next hour or two, I'm busy. They go down to the basement or out to a shed or into a room in the attic, and they lock the door and they set up everything so that they're ready to focus on the task at hand. If it's a musical project, they've got their musical instrument, they've got their sheet music, they've got the proper picks to use. They get themselves in the right mindset to focus on what it is they're supposed to be doing. You know, sports are very popular. When people go and play sports, they get it set up such that they're able to focus on training. They're able to focus on getting better at that particular sport. They set aside everything else for the purpose of cultivating the experience. And we have to do this with our meditation practice as well. So do whatever it takes to have time, a space, a situation such that you can focus 100% on what it is you want to be doing with your meditation practice. And as Kriya Yogis, you're going to be coming at this from different levels of development. For example, if you are new to meditation or you're new to Kriya Yoga, that means that you're probably spending your time learning how to do the techniques right. You're spending your time focusing on, okay, well, if I'm circulating life force through the spinal pathway, if I'm chanting through the chakras, what do I need to do for myself, linking the breath to the movement or sinking my attention more fully into the bodily experience of the chakra? What do I need to do to get good at holding my awareness on the technique itself? So some of us are there. Some people are really just trying to experience stress relief, stress reduction. Others have their lives arranged and situated in such a way that they can cultivate higher states of self-realization, meaning they don't need to practice stress management anymore because they know how to do that with their techniques. They've also arranged their lives in such a way that, for the most part, barring occasional unforeseen circumstances or emergencies, things are lined up such that they are calm and centered in their life. And that is absolutely possible for every single one of us. So don't think that your life is just radically chaotic for reasons you can't control. You can. It might take you more work, but it is possible to get things under control, and we have to be able to do this in order to practice yoga well. Once those things are done, then we've got the time. Then we have our books in front of us, the Holy Science by Sri Yukteswar, or the Bhagavad Gita by Lahiri Mahasaya, or a book by this guy named Ryan Kurczak, An Essential Guide to Kriya Yoga Practice, or Mr. Davis's book, Absolute Knowledge That Liberates Consciousness. These books are everywhere in my house and in where I am. So when I'm in my office, they're everywhere. I have access to them. When I'm going to go to sleep at night, they're right by my bed, stacks of these books. I can just reach for one and grab it. I even occasionally keep some in the bathroom, because you need that sometimes. Wherever I meditate, I'll have access to these things. So you want to set up your environment so that it is supportive of bringing that knowledge into your life. Now let's kind of focus on what Lahiri Mahasaya has said about cultivating this. And this is from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, and this is from his commentary, chapter 6, 12 through 15. Now, those of you who are more familiar with Roy Eugene Davis's commentary, because that's typically what I focus on, I find it to be a little more accessible. Don't worry too much if this seems a little different than what you're used to when it comes to the Bhagavad Gita. The information is essentially the same. It's just been translated and interpreted in a little bit different fashion. So Lahiri Mahasaya says, putting the mind onto the self and tranquilizing the heart or chitta or your consciousness and restraining the senses. Holding steadfastly onto this position, one should practice Kriya for self-purification to realize the ultimate self. So in this statement, I'll read it again, but he tells you exactly what the state of mind, the state of consciousness required for success is. Putting the mind, so the mind is that which thinks about things. So what do you need to do? Well, think about the self. Think about spirit. Putting the mind onto the self and tranquilizing the heart or chitta, the consciousness. And how do you tranquilize consciousness? How do you tranquilize chitta, the heart? Well, you practice your meditation techniques. That's the whole point. That's why they're there. Holding steadfastly onto this position, restraining the senses. Well, this is something that is very important that many yogis often overlook. You have to close your eyes. You have to pull your awareness into your body. Not worry so much about what's out there or what you hear or what you feel, but to bring your awareness into the body, feeling deeply into the body, particularly along the spinal pathway. This is an excellent way to begin restraining the senses. One should practice Kriya for self-purification to realize the ultimate self. So he does not say you practice Kriya to put yourself in a stupor or a trance. He doesn't say you practice Kriya to relax a little bit more. He says you practice Kriya to realize the ultimate self and for self-purification. And he goes on to say, body and neck should remain erect, upright. Breath should be made tranquil. and attention focused at the top of the head or the root of the nose. The root of the nose is where the nose comes out of your head, essentially. So the root is up here between the eyebrows. The root of the nose, not down here. Sometimes you might see pictures of yogis, and I don't know if I can do it, but they kind of like crossing their eyes and staring at the tips of their nose. Well, that's not what we're talking about. We want to bring our awareness up here and feel this area at the root of the nose. And this position itself is already starting to turn your awareness within, to internalize your experience away from the outward flowing senses. And you already know this stuff. This is just review, but it's worth talking about. Then the seeker will be attuned with the ultimate self and realize, I am nothing and I have nothing. Being attuned, he or she will restrain the mind in the mind. That is, he will realize that there is nothing except the self at the after effects of Kriya. Okay, so Lahiri Mahasaya has told you essentially to sit up straight, to regulate the breath, which could be through Kriya Pranayama. It could be simply by doing like box breathing, where you inhale for a count of 4, hold the breath for a count of 4, exhale for a count of 4, hold the breath for a count of 4. This is going to make the breath tranquil. And then you direct your awareness here to the spiritual eye center, to the crown of the head. And if all you ever did was actually just do this, the breathing, sitting upright, holding your awareness at the spiritual eye and crown, and really feeling these areas, you would experience deeper states of consciousness that will result in self-realization. If that's all you ever did, that's all you would need. But that's hard because the mind's going all over the place. But this is a good place to start. But the words that he used, I am nothing and I have nothing, these are key. Because when you go into your meditation process, and you only have to do this for now, during the time of meditation. All right, so I'm not asking that you run around telling everyone that I am nothing and I have nothing for the rest of the waking hours of your day. I'm saying just do this for your time in meditation. You move into your meditation posture and you acknowledge, I am nothing. I have nothing. This is what's going to make the process more effective, because you're not trying to get anywhere or change anything or make anything different. And maybe you've experienced this when you've been on vacation or you've been on spiritual retreat. It used to be when I would go visit Mr. Davis at CSA, I didn't have any cell service. And for most of the time, I didn't have a cell phone because I didn't really want to get one. But when I went on retreat, I was down in Georgia and no one was around except for Mr. Davis and a few participants. I was not always checking the phone. I was not always trying to call people or communicate with people. I was able to let everything go. And this is the way Mr. Davis liked it. He didn't want people on their phones. He didn't want Wi-Fi installed. He wanted people to have their own experience without being connected to the normal distractions of their life. But when you go into an experience like that, once you get over the initial slight stress of it, you're able to relax because now things are calmer. Nothing is being asked of you. You're able to feel your awareness turn within. You've experienced this probably when you've gone on vacation. If you've actually been able to go on a real vacation where you could put aside work thoughts or family thoughts or friend thoughts or any kind of thoughts at home, you could just go to be in the woods or be at the beach or just any kind of vacation and just turn everything off and just be present with yourself. You're not worried about anything. You're not worried about what you have or what you don't have. Then you start to experience a state of real tranquility. So we have to cultivate this consciously and intensively during our meditation. And one of the other issues that we often have is we're always thinking about ourselves. Who are we? What are we going to achieve? How do people think of us? What have we accomplished? And so on. Well, if you go into it with the idea, I am nothing, none of that matters. And so one of the most important things you can do, aside from properly practicing your Kriya techniques and sitting in the silence after the techniques, is spend time with yourself actually working that out. I am nothing. And I do this a lot. I am nothing. So what does that mean? That means I am not this person who people think is a Kriya Yoga teacher. I am not a musician. I'm not in relationships to anyone. I don't have this past. I have not experienced these things. I go through everything that could possibly make Ryan, Ryan, and I let it go. I'm not that. I am nothing. And once I get settled into that experience, then I might move into the sense of, you know what? The car that I drive is not mine. This body is not mine. The house that I'm in is really not mine. This world in which I exist, this is not mine. These are manifestations. We're not going to get into what they are. You can worry about that later. But if you can let go of these things that you think are yours, because eventually you know they'll be taken away anyway. So let's just pretend for now that they're not yours. If you can really comfortably, psychologically, emotionally, comfortably get into that space, you are at a place that your meditation practice will result in clarity of awareness, deeper states of consciousness being revealed to you. One of the things that Mr. Davis would talk about, and we're getting into this a little bit now in the course on Absolute Knowledge that Liberates Consciousness on Patreon. But one of the things he would talk about is it's important to be able to explore higher realities. And he sticks that in every now and then, like in the commentary on the Bhagavad Gita or in Absolute Knowledge. And it's easy to overlook that. And I think I spent many years just kind of skipping over that. But he also didn't emphasize it a lot in his talks. And my sense is that's probably because in order to experience higher realities, really experience higher realities, you have to be very well grounded emotionally and psychologically healthy. Otherwise, what's going to happen is you're going to think you're experiencing higher realities, and all it is just a really intense version of mental stuff and fantasy. But we want to be able to experience higher realities. But if we really want to be able to experience higher realities, we have to have these foundations that I've just been talking about. Then we will be able to have the experience of the Om vibration, which is a higher reality. Then we'll be able to have an experience of feeling light and free in space, which is a higher reality. Seeing inner light. Feeling that you are supported and sustained by the wholeness of everything. These are higher realities. It's not having visions of people. It's not seeing geometric patterns or beautiful landscapes. That's possible. And those things can occur, which does mean that you are starting to get into more refined states of consciousness, but you can't get lost in them, because when you get into more refined states of consciousness, if the chitta, the consciousness, the mind is still kind of churning around and hasn't been calmed, well, then you're going to see all kinds of interesting stuff. And higher realities are not really about necessarily seeing interesting things. It's hard to explain, but the point that I'm trying to get at here is that in order to get to that stage where this will make sense to you, get your techniques down. Get to that place where you're not thinking about yourself at all. You're not thinking about all the terrible situations in the world, all the things that happen to you. You're not thinking about anything you want to achieve. You are just feeling a sense of, I am nothing and I have nothing. And it's not a morose, depressed, pessimistic feeling. It's just an acknowledgement. It's just an acknowledgement. And it's calm. And it's a peaceful acknowledgement. It's like, as I've said, it's the kind of feeling you would have if you were really on vacation and you didn't have to worry about anything. That's essentially what we're trying to get at here. Okay, let me continue on with the Gita from Lahiri Mahasaya. He says, thus practicing Kriya, always restraining oneself, again with that notion, I am nothing and I have nothing, one attains eternal tranquility. In other words, the seeker attains highest happiness and goes beyond intelligence to inner wisdom that is eternal realization. So from this place where you are restraining the senses, you have been able to turn your awareness within, you've been able to free yourself essentially from all these defining factors in consciousness, then you begin to glimpse and touch upon the sense of eternal tranquility. And then you attain happiness. And this is not happiness like when, I'm drinking some matcha green tea here. I usually don't do that because caffeine has an effect on me. But I was up a little bit later last night, so I needed to perk me up a little bit. But when I drink green tea, or any kind of caffeine, what happens? Something goes on with my hormonal system, and say for an hour or two, I feel really happy. I can remember when I was in Asheville, North Carolina, this tea room wanted me to teach meditation. And so we'd meditate on Sunday mornings, and then the owner of the establishment would bring everyone a cup of matcha tea halfway through so they could start drinking it. And then by the time we got done, everyone was just, that was the most amazing meditation ever. I feel just so energized and blissful. I mean, you'd think it would be obvious that it's probably the tea. But anyway, it's not a happiness based on chemicals within your body, whether it's chemicals from just seeing something that you enjoy or from green tea or something like that. It's a happiness which is beyond the changing fluctuation of the emotions. So don't think it's not an emotional state. It's a happiness beyond emotion. So this is what we're aiming to do. And then if you are able to do that for the duration of your 20 minutes, 30 minutes, hour, every single day, that accumulates over time. That accumulates over time. I don't know if any of you are familiar with how video games work these days, but they talk about video games in the sense of how long it takes to complete them. So for fun, I got this game that I started playing, and my stepdaughter plays it too, and I enjoy it. But when I see how much time I'm spending on this game, I'm thinking, wow, I could be doing a lot more with my time. And this game supposedly takes like 120 hours to complete. And she's played another game that takes 75 hours to complete, and she's done it like 6 times. That means she's spent, 300, 400 hours sitting in front of a computer? And that's just playing a game. So what we want to do as yogis, play games every now and then, it's fun. But you really want to take that time and realize if you spend a half hour, an hour, or 2 hours a day, break it up, an hour in the morning, an hour in the evening, that's going to accumulate over time. And if you were playing a game, you could click on the little button and see, wow, after so long, I've been meditating for 200 hours or so. You can even keep track of it, and that accumulates. And what you'll find is that in time, that experience that you have in meditation, you really start to feel it when you're not in meditation as well. So do a really good job during that time that you are meditating. And then the rest of your day, of course, you still want to live according to the yamas and niyamas and being a good person and doing your best. But don't worry if you're not always in the state of peacefulness. Do your best during that particular time. And what you'll find as the years go by, slowly, that will actually start to extend into every moment of your daily life. But you have to take very seriously the time you do meditate. Again, just like when it comes to playing music, when I really focus for a half hour, an hour on learning something on a musical instrument, and I do that consistently over days, in a couple months, I'm surprised at how much progress I've made just by a little chunk of time every day. So this is what we have to do. And then finally, before we conclude and meditate, I want to go back to the beginning of this chapter, chapter 6 in the Bhagavad Gita. I believe this is the first verse, and this is Lahiri Mahasay's interpretation of it. He says, he is a yogi and a sannyasin. So sannyasin can be like a swami, someone who's renounced the world. He is a yogi and a sannyasin who performs all actions, abandoning the expectation of the results of those actions. All right, so a yogi is a person who gives up the expectation of getting something from the actions. So when you do this, don't sit down and think, I'm going to get something from this. Just do it. Just do it. He who restrains from making fire or performing actions is neither a yogi nor a sannyasin. So he follows it up with, He who restrains from making fire, and this idea of making fire, that's your meditation practice. That's the transformational practice of your meditation. So he who doesn't practice meditation, but that person who also doesn't perform actions in the world, that person is neither a yogi nor a sannyasin. So what you have to do is meditate every day, and don't worry about it. Just do it well. That's it. Just focus on doing it well in the way we've described. And then you have to act in the world. Some people think that they should abandon their actions. Well, you've got to do something in this world. You know, I meditate a couple hours a day. I work on classes. I answer emails. I do my work as a Kriya Yoga teacher. I don't do that 24 hours a day. Part of that time I play music. Every now and then, as I mentioned, I'll go play a video game. I like to go for walks. I like to garden. I like to go to the gym. You have to do these things. But don't worry about it. Just let it happen. Just live your life. And ultimately, the important thing that you, in a sense, have to do, which isn't really a doing, is living by the yamas and niyamas. If you live by the yamas and niyamas, truthfulness, harmlessness, non-stealing, contentment, and so on, if you live by those while you are doing these other things, that's your role as a Kriya Yogi. Meditate daily, do whatever life provides for you to do, but from the place of the yamas and niyamas. And that is a life which is going to result in self-realization, and it's going to result in freedom and, well, understanding what Lahiri Mahasaya experienced, Sri Yukteswar experienced, Roy Eugene Davis experienced, what every single person has the capacity to experience if they do this. So reflect upon this and realize that you have access to all kinds of information that will help you be successful. But while you are practicing, you really just have to take it seriously. Just do your best with it. And even if you fail, you're not failing as long as you keep trying. You know, yesterday I had the day off, and I spent a half hour playing 4 notes on my mandolin, because there was a phrase I was trying to learn in a song and I couldn't get it right. So I sat there for a half hour and I just repeated these 4 notes over and over and over again. And I got them wrong, and I got them right, and I got them wrong, and I got them right. And I set it aside. And I know the next time I pick it up, I'm going to be a heck of a lot better than what I was before I practiced. So even when you're practicing, if you don't feel like you're doing a good job, just keep doing it. And then when you come back to it again, you'll be a little bit better off with it. And that's what happens. It just keeps going in that way. So let's meditate together. So take a moment to close your eyes. Sitting up straight with the head and neck erect. And just take a moment to feel the breath. And if you like, it can be helpful to take 2 or 3 nice, deep, comfortable breaths in. And just let it out. And then feel the weight of the body, the gravity of the body grounding you into the earth. We'll take a moment to honor and acknowledge the teacher representatives of this tradition. Mahavatar Babaji, Lahiri Mahasaya, Swami Sri Yukteswar, Paramahansa Yogananda, Roy Eugene Davis. And you can honor that field of awareness that is your very self, which shares that field with the teachers of this tradition. And before you begin any technique, take a moment, remembering I am nothing and I have nothing. So essentially this is an assertion that right now, while we're together, you don't have to worry about anything. You don't have to worry about who you are, what you like, what you don't like, what you have to do, where you came from. You don't have to worry about what you own or what you want. You can just let it go. And this is kind of a process. So, your mind and your consciousness might present to you, yeah, but what about that? Oh, you just say, yeah, I get it, but no, I don't own that either. And that's not important to me, because right now what is important is the part of you which is eternal, which is that infinite spirit, the infinite self. So I am nothing and I have nothing. Just like you're on vacation for the next half hour. And then let's practice a technique together. We'll practice moving our awareness through the chakras. And so we can begin by bringing our attention down to the root chakra, the area that you're sitting on, feeling gravity there. And it's important to begin sensing the actual physical area of the root chakra. The pressure, the temperature, the warmth, anything that you notice in the area of the root chakra. As you feel that, chant Om internally. Om, 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 as though it's pulsing and resonating within the root chakra as you feel the space. And flow your attention up to the second chakra, just above the pubic bone, deep within the lower abdomen, feeling the physical sensation of that area, however it's real to you in your body right now. Mentally chanting Om, 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 and so on, as though it's resonant and pulsing within that area. Move your awareness up to the third chakra, the level of the navel, but deep into the abdomen, up against the spine and the back, but deep in the abdomen. Physically feeling the area and mentally chanting Om. Flowing your awareness up from the third chakra to the space of the heart, deep within the chest, feeling the physical sensation of the chest, the heart, in between the lungs, mentally chanting Om. Flowing your attention up from the heart as though it's moving up through the upper torso to the neck, feeling the tops of the shoulders and the base of the skull and the throat and the back of the neck, mentally chanting Om. Flowing the awareness from the neck and the throat chakra up through the base of the skull, up through what you feel deep within the skull and the brain, to the space between the eyebrows, feeling deep within the skull at the space between the eyebrows, mentally chanting Om. Flowing the awareness up to the crown of the head, feeling the very top of the head, the top of the skull, sensing the area and mentally chanting Om. And remembering as you feel the crown, that you don't have to worry about yourself at all, that you are nothing at this point in time, and that you own nothing, so you don't have anything to worry about. Just the feeling, the sensation of the crown, and the contemplation of the inner chanting of Om. Flow your awareness back down, deep within the brain, within the skull, to the space between the eyebrows. Feeling that area, mentally chanting Om. Flowing the awareness down through the base of the skull, down to the throat and the back of the neck, and feeling even the upper parts of the shoulders, sensing the whole area, mentally chanting Om. Flowing the awareness down to the heart, really paying attention to what it feels like between your shoulder blades, your breastbone, as you sense the movement of the lungs, breathing, and maybe even the heart beating, chanting Om. Letting your awareness flow down through the upper torso, deep in the core. You can feel the movement and the warmth moving down to the third chakra at the level of the navel, deep within the belly. Sensing, bringing awareness to that area as you breathe, chanting Om. Flowing the awareness down to the second chakra, the level of the sacrum, just above the pubic bone or just above the genital area, deep within the lower abdomen, chanting Om. Flowing awareness down to the root chakra, the very base, down at the bottom of the tailbone. I really feel it at the bottom of, in between the anus and the genitals, the perineum region. Sensing that area, chanting Om. And now feeling the root chakra, let go of the chanting of Om and just feel the area. And imagine at the level of the root chakra, you can feel an upward flowing current, like as if there's a river in your spine and the water is slowly flowing upwards. Maybe you've been in a stream before, or a river, or an ocean, and you felt the water rushing over you, or by you, or around you. Well, as you feel the root chakra, imagine that as you're centered here, you can sense the flow of life, energy, rolling around, above, and through this chakra, but it's flowing upwards. Almost as if there's this weightless water within your spine, and it's just gently moving up through the back, but your focus is at the root chakra. You're sensing any temperature or pressure or any sensation at all subtly within the root chakra and around the root chakra. And gently following that flow, move your awareness up to the second chakra, the sacrum, just a little ways up your back. And if you don't feel anything, just use your imagination, because the life force goes where the mind goes. So even if you're just using your imagination, the effect is still the same. But feel the second chakra as though there is a current of energy flowing around and through, upwards through the spine, but you are holding your awareness anchored at the second chakra. But you can feel it pulling you up though. So it's like you're there at the second chakra, but you can feel this weightlessness, this lightness kind of calling your attention upwards. You're just not going there yet. Flow your awareness now up to the third chakra, behind the navel, deep within the abdomen, against the spine, but within the spine. And imagine that you can sense a current of energy or water or air or weightlessness, any fluidity moving up through the spinal pathway, around and through this area where you sense the third chakra or imagine it to be. And follow the current of this energy up through that curve within your back, up between your shoulder blades, deep within your chest, the heart chakra. And imagine or feel this fluidity, this current ascending, moving through the heart chakra upwards, like a gentle river or a gentle stream, rolling around the heart chakra and through the heart chakra. And continue to follow this fluid energy up through, in between the tops of the shoulders, to the spinal column within the neck, up to the base of the skull, and feel the area of the neck and the throat, the fifth chakra. Sensing this is a very sensitive place where the sensation of flow is greater. As if you can feel the current more, moving from the body through the fifth chakra to the base of the skull, but your focus is on the fifth chakra. And then it's as if you feel yourself flowing through the base of your skull up into the nervous system, deep within the skull. You're aware of the space between the eyebrows and a continuous upward moving current. And to assist the experience, you can smile slightly. You can lift your eyebrows as though you're mildly surprised, to give a lift to the forehead. And you can even feel as though the shoulders and the tops of the head themselves are weightless and floating upwards. And if they weren't attached to the body, they would just rise up through the sky. And this gives a sense of decompression, spaciousness within the upper chakras. And then your awareness continues to flow as this river moves to the crown. You can feel the very top of the head as though this is the place where the water, the life force, the energy, any pressure is released, and it's emerging with an infinite ocean above and all around you, upwards, feeling like it's flowing upwards. And you can feel this as water, as life force, as electricity, or even like a warm, gentle wind blowing up through the spine comfortably and soothingly, merging with the crown and flowing upwards into infinite space. And now bring your awareness to the entirety of your spine. So you still feel the crown, but it's as if now you can sense all the way down through the chakras, all the way down through the spinal pathway, this upward flowing current, and it's calm and it's soothing, and it's drawing all of your awareness inward, purifying your experience, tranquilizing the breath, calming your consciousness and your chitta. And then letting that upward feeling go, letting your attention go from it. Feel the rest of your body as we move towards the conclusion. Feel the palms of the hands and the fingertips. Feel the soles of the feet and the tips of the toes. The rise and fall of the breath. The substance of your body, the spaciousness within your heart and your mind. And take a moment to acknowledge, notice the impact of this meditation on your consciousness. So how do you feel now as you observe your mind, your body, your heart, compared to, say, earlier today? How has this experience affected your consciousness? feel it deeply into the bones and the muscles, to the internal organs of the torso and abdomen. Sensing the space within the skull and down through the spinal pathway. Noticing the extent of your expression as infinite spirit in this body. And then to conclude our meditation session and the Sunday service, if you like, you can join me in chanting Om 3 times, or simply listen and hear it within your mind. Peace. I see you all in well-being, in wisdom, steadfastly walking on your awakening path, feeling as though you are in your right place in life and understanding any trials or challenges that come your way. I see you with the capacity to experience transformational meditation, and the capacity to live as a Kriya Yogi, abiding by the yamas and the niyamas to the best of your ability. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om. Peace. All right. Well, thank you all for being here today. It was wonderful to see you again.